Good evening. I'm Stan Welch, Bereavement Coordinator here at Mercy Hospice. I just want to welcome you to our celebration of life. Our annual celebration of life here at Mercy Hospice is a long-standing tradition honoring the lives of those who have passed away with gratefulness in our hearts. We call this a celebration because we believe that every life is created in the image of God, and the story of each life is a gift worth celebrating. So we're setting aside these few moments to pause, reflect, and remember the lives of our loved ones, and consider how they have so deeply impacted each one of us. Joining us this evening are families and friends of Mercy Hospice, as well as the greater Roseburg community. From all of us here at Mercy Hospice, we want to let you know that we are thinking of you and we're praying for you this evening as we both grieve and celebrate the lives of those who have meant so much to us. Thank you for joining us.
My wife was my best friend. After 52 years of marriage, we did everything together. We raised a family together. We traveled, got to see a lot of things. She loved her family, her grandkids. They loved her. I don't know what I'll do without her. It was hard to see her health failing. I'm just glad to know she's at peace now. I still see her everywhere I look, and I sure miss her. I love you, dear.
My mother was my spiritual mentor. She modeled grace, love, patience, most of all. She taught me how to sew. We even made my wedding dress together. I can still hear her voice in my head, always soft-spoken and kind. She loved being a grandma. But she died when my daughter was only 3, and she never even met my son. She loved Jesus and always shared her faith with everyone. My mother was known for her grace. She treated everyone with the same kindness. One of her greatest strengths was her patience. Being a wife and mother was her purpose in life. She saw it as her calling. She was the best at both. She modeled being a good wife and parent. She was always available, anytime any of us needed her. Thank you, Mother, for leaving a legacy. I miss you.
Oh, my dad always loved camping and fishing and hunting and loved playing cards with the family. I loved to hear him playing the guitar and singing country music. I really miss that. I had such a respect for my dad's work ethic. He always tried to be a good provider, even knowing he had to be up at 3 a.m. in the morning to drive log truck. He always had a cheerful attitude, and he was very seldom upset or in a bad mood. My dad was an honest man. He had such a sense of ethics and morality. I really enjoyed his sense of humor. He loved to laugh, had a positive attitude, an infectious laugh. Service to his country was really important. My dad joined the Navy at age 15 and served in World War II. Thanks, Dad, for the memories.
My grandma was the best grandma ever. I loved to visit her pond and play with her. She always made the best noodles. I just miss all the stuff we did together. How much we loved each other. She taught me how to grow things in the garden. You push a hole in the dirt with your thumb, push the seed in with your thumb, and bury it. You do all of it with your hand and water it. And that's how a tree grows. It made me sad when she died. I miss you, Grandma.
Hello, my name is Mike Kildall, and I'm honored to serve as a chaplain at Mercy Medical Center. It's our desire at CHI Mercy to take a few moments to pause and remember loved ones that we have lost in the past year through this virtual life celebration. In a few moments, we'll invite you to remember those you love by lighting a candle. And so if you don't have a candle nearby or a lighter and a match, this is a good time to go run and get it and come back and join us for a time of encouragement and remembrance. For many years, I have participated and led a service around the holidays, especially for people who have experienced some sort of loss during the past year. Someone creatively entitled it, "When All Is Not Merry and Bright." While many people are planning gatherings, going to services, and opening gifts this holiday season, others just see an empty chair or miss a traditional phone call they can no longer make, or a vocation they can no longer count on to support their families. Loss comes in many forms. For the next few moments, it will be good for us to focus on two things that are important for everyone who experiences loss. We need to be able to grieve, and we need to be able to have hope. And afterwards, by lighting a candle, we will remember. In the scriptures, we find Jesus speaking to his closest friends about the fact that he would be leaving them soon. And they were pretty clueless about what he meant when he said, "So you have sorrow now, but I will see you again, and then you will rejoice, and no one can rob you of that joy." You see, Jesus understood grief and hope. This past summer, I got the phone call that my last remaining brother had died suddenly and unexpectedly. While my sisters remain a source of comfort and solace, I am the lone remaining son. There had been 5 of us boys, but now there's just me. My brother taught me how to ride a bike. One of my favorite memories of my brother were when he was a teenager and wanted to meet his friends at the park after dark. My parents said he could go, but he'd have to take me. Not much fun for either him or me. For decades, we laughed about that. No, grief can feel like a bully who shows up from behind a fence when you least expect it. When grief invades our day, it's disorienting. For a moment, we're thrown off balance by it. Tears can blur our vision, our posture crumbles, and all other thoughts are doused by a jet stream of pain. Grief floods our memories as blood to a wound. We've loved, we've lost, and we're made to feel that reality all over again. So what do? Avoid it? Stuff it? Some do. Even though grief can be aggressive, ignoring it is not helpful. Grief screams, "Hear me, this hurts." Grief requests our engagement. Some people choose to silence their sorrows through self-medication. But I want to suggest that there is a better medicine, a simple prescription for grief that has unending refills. It's called hope. People of faith are called to engage their grief with hope. God's hope is not meant to cancel our griefs and sorrows, but to sustain and comfort us in them and ultimately redeem us from them. But hope alone without grief is unsustainable. The truth is, we need both. Sometimes people of faith will refuse to grieve heartily when a loved one passes. They stuff their feelings down into a temporary, untouchable pit and pretend the pain isn't there. They justify it because of their faith, since they have an eternal hope for the one who has passed. But this approach to hope is unsustainable. We cannot guard ourselves from mourning or mortality. Hope without grief is unsustainable because mourning is guaranteed to come, and we're foolish to believe otherwise. Maybe it's the turn of a calendar or a whiff of someone's aftershave, but there's certain to be a trigger, and grief and mourning will come. And when it does, it can drive us to our knees. A hope that hides from grief is a shallow hope that refuses to be realistic about how important grief can be in a day of incurable pain. But the opposite can be just as devastating. If we find ourselves only grieving, we can become lost, self-focused, and short-sighted. One of the best examples of grief and hope is found in just 2 words. It's found in the Gospel of John. Those 2 words are, Jesus wept. It is beautiful that Jesus could be moved to compassion. The one who would soon conquer death himself still experienced grief and sorrow. Just minutes before he called his beloved Lazarus to come forth, he wept at the tomb of his friend. It is good and right to mourn over suffering and loss, even when we know how the story ends. Because pain is real, and suffering is real, and they both beg for genuine engagement. So how should we respond to grief? We ought not be surprised when grief comes knocking on our door, no matter how long ago it first visited. An informed response to grief doesn't involve ignoring the pain, nor does it involve believing we are hopeless because of it. We can handle grief when we can keep 2 things in mind: a humble surrender and a settled assurance. Humble surrender takes place when we embrace the weight of our sorrow, mourn what death has separated, and confess our dependence upon God in all things. Settled assurance is what happens when we embrace the promise that an eternal hope does not end at the cemetery. Our faith is made strong by engaging, not ignoring our grief. Faith cries, "Lord, I feel this pain and it breaks my heart, but I know that you weep with me and promise to set things right one day. And you're not asking me to bear something that you have not experienced yourself." You see, hope without grief is unsustainable, and it will not withstand the day of incurable pain. But the opposite is also true. Grief without hope is uninformed and forgets the promise of eternal life. But grief and hope, engaged on parallel tracks, offer breathing room for the bereaved and solace for the mourner. We cry real tears and we do not forsake them. We remember our hope and we do not refuse its comforts. And in this bittersweet exchange of raw emotion and memory, we hear the tender whispers of Jesus. So you have sorrow now, but I will see you again. And then you will rejoice, and no one can rob you of that joy. At this time, we invite you to light a candle for the individual that you want to honor. Some of you may need more than one candle, but as you do, listen to the words of Psalm 23 and remember your loved one with prayer, grief, and hope.
The Lord is my shepherd, satisfy my soul, make my path straight, all for his glorious name. When I walk through the valley, the shadow of death, I will not fear, for I know you are with me, your rod and your staff, your comfort is near. I will die in bliss before my foes. My cup is full.